From Atlanta, Georgia, welcome to Fearfully and Wonderfully Me, a podcast for women on leadership and life skills with Rhea Story. Rhea shares powerful life and leadership principles, helping you maximize your potential and become the woman God created you to be.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode on vision. This episode is one of 7 that I'm doing in a series on my book, Achieve. And each letter in the word achieve stands for a different characteristic that helps us unlock success in life. So today's episode is on the V, vision. And we've already talked in this series about the attitude that we have, the choices that we make, having integrity, having humility, and the sources of energy. And simply because we start running down to the end of the word, those last 2 episodes on vision, and then the next one is going to be on excellence. It's easy to think that these are not as important, maybe because they come a little bit later in the series, but it is based on the acronym Achieve. And so these last couple of episodes aren't any less important simply because they come at the end of the word. In fact, I don't know that beyond attitude being foundational, I don't know that any of them are much more important. You really need all of them in order to be successful in life. So as we're talking about vision today, as individuals, if we don't have a vision of what is possible for our future, we won't be able to work towards it. And most of us don't really spend a lot of time thinking about what we want our life to look like in the future. And that's the sad thing, because if we're not intentionally visualizing our future, it's really almost impossible to intentionally create the future. And we do create our future. We create our future each and every day by the choices that we make. I've just finished reading Leo Buscaglia's book, Personhood, The Art of Being Human. And it's not a big book, but I've read so many good quotes from him that I finally just ordered the book. And I thought, I've seen so many good quotes from him through the years that it's got to be a good book. So I ordered the book, and I was really, I expected it to be good, but it really was a fantastic book in terms of it made me think some thought-provoking things. And that's really what I love when I read, is that it opens up my level of awareness. It expands my level of awareness because it opens my mind to new concepts and new thoughts and new perspectives. So I love a quote that he talks about in there. He's talking about the choices that we make, and he's talking about, with our maturity as people, we've acquired a sense of ourselves, but it's only the starting point. Once we have that awareness of where we are and who we are, that gives us the foundation to then say, where do I want to go? Who do I want to become? So he has a good quote in here that says, we choose ourselves in the present. We choose ourselves in the present. Now think about that. We choose ourselves in the present means the choices that we're making today are going to determine who we are tomorrow. Now, I'll go on to quote him. He says, we accept the future as our challenge, not in the sense of waiting for it, but living the now in a way so as to make it happen in the future. And I love that. We don't always stop to think about, what's my vision of the future? Who do I want to be? And so we've got to have that vision, because the vision creates the foundation for us to take action. We've got to know where we're going, in other words. Now, there are 4 components to creating and implementing your personal vision. Number 1, hope for the future. Number 2, a strategy for success. Number 3, identifying and planning your priorities based on your values. And number 4, execution of your daily agenda. We've often heard that hope is not a strategy, but you have to have hope or you won't be motivated to create a strategy for success. Hope is an attitude of the mind. Brené Brown says, hope isn't an emotion, it's a way of thinking. And it's really the way that we think about the future. Ludwig von Mises said that humans require three things before they will act. They require dissatisfaction with the present state of affairs, a vision of a possible improved future state, and belief that we can reach that future state. Now, a lot of us have dissatisfaction with the present. That's not unusual, but not everyone is willing to do something about it. So we first have to create that vision of the possible future state and believe that we can reach it. Um, and that's hope is about how we think. We find something to hold on to. And then vision requires or inspires the strategy for success. Oprah Winfrey said, create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life because you become what you believe. You become what you believe. You know, a lot of times in life we hold on to our current circumstances and we don't step away from what's going on in the here and now to really intentionally think about what's possible in the future. And it's so important to be able to step away and really envision that, because the vision creates the strategy, and the strategy creates the clarity. And the thing about it is, vision inspires our priorities. Once we've got a clear vision and a strategy of how we're going to get there, then we've got something to focus our actions on. And it's executing in the daily agenda that allows us to accomplish it. Now, the vision that we have creates the willpower, if you want to call it that, to say no to some things that aren't in alignment with the vision. But there again, it starts with that hope. We've got to have the hope of and the belief that our desired future state is possible. When I was a teenager, I met our local librarian, and of course, I grew up in a very small town, so that it was a volunteer librarian in a very tiny, tiny library. But her name was Helen. And because I was such an avid reader during that time of my life, well, I still love to read, but I was in and out of the library a lot, and I got to know Helen pretty well. And Helen taught me to play bridge. And she introduced me to Miss Wanda, who eventually became my regular bridge partner. And the two of them were friends. Now, they were much older than I was. And in fact, they were both, retired, and playing bridge was just a social outlet. And so here I come along as a teenager, and they really just included me. They really just opened their arms and just kind of took me in and mothered me in a lot of different ways. And I got to spend a lot of time with them. I got to play bridge with them regularly. And playing bridge was always one of the things that I was allowed to do. My father always allowed me to do it because there was never any, there was never any potential boyfriends involved or anything like that. And so playing bridge with a group of retired people was something that he permitted me to do. So I got to spend a lot of time with Miss Helen and Miss Wanda, and really just enjoyed learning from them in so many different ways. And unfortunately, Miss Helen was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it was far too late by the time they discovered it to do anything about it. Pancreatic cancer is a very aggressive form of cancer, and by the time they realized that that's what she had, it was too far advanced. And so that whole summer after she was diagnosed, we all knew that she was dying and that she was getting sicker and weaker, and it was really hard to watch her over the summer. And her daughter Claire came all the way from England to stay and kind of take care of her mother during those few months. And I really enjoyed getting to know Claire as well. So one day, late summer, I was over visiting Miss Helen, and Claire was sitting around with us, and we were kind of laughing about, Helen was talking about how difficult it was to get a proper cup of tea from the hospital, because both Claire and Helen were from England, and they loved to drink tea, but it had to be properly made. And she considered it properly made if you started with true boiling water and let the tea steep really well. So we were kind of laughing about that. And she had just a wonderful sense of humor and really just a peaceful spirit, even though we knew that the end was coming. And Helen taught me a lot about hope because of her attitude. Her situation was clearly hopeless, most people would tell you. And yet she still had a beautiful attitude and just a graceful spirit of saying, I'm going to make the most of today. And so I remember sitting around, we were laughing about the difficulties of getting the tea. And I said something about how sorry I was if there wasn't any hope for her. And she just shocked me. She kind of smiled and she said, "There's always hope. And I'm going to be a grandmother," she said. And I was shocked because they were clearly celebrating that Helen was about to be a grandmother. Claire was just announcing that she was expecting a baby. And that is absolutely a cause for celebration. But we all knew that Helen wouldn't be around by the time the baby was born. And so, her words that day, I think back on them. I thought back on them later after I went home, and I really realized that hope is the way we think. It's not just an emotion that we experience or don't. It's a choice that we make. It's the way we think and the way we choose to look at the future as something of possibilities. Hope begins with a vision, and the vision begins with hope. Hope comes from believing that what we want is within our reach and it's possible as long as we're willing to reach forward. Now, it doesn't mean that things are always going to be perfect, if they always work out like we want them to. But the hope is so important because it inspires our vision and it gives us possibility thinking. I think I talked about that before. So it's so important when we change our way of thinking because our vision is what's really going to drive how and what we do. So think about this. Once you've created your vision for the future, Larry Page has a great quote that I love to think about this, really relative to your vision, your personal vision for yourself, and your purpose. And he says, "What's your one sentence summary of how you change the world?" And to me, that's the most clarifying thing on vision. What's your one sentence summary of how you change the world? Now, it might be that your one sentence summary is to be the absolute best mother that you can be. It might be that you're called to do something else, that your purpose is writing books and speaking. It might be that your purpose is coaching others. It might be that your purpose is mentoring young people. Whatever it is, it's just about being the best that you can. But it starts with that vision of how we change the world. Now, you must have both vision and the execution to be very effective and very successful. So it's not enough to just have the vision. Highly successful people separate themselves by first having the vision and then executing the strategy. So that requires a little bit of discipline, and success in our daily agenda does come down to discipline. It's the willingness to sacrifice something now for what we are going to get in the future. Discipline is giving yourself a command to act on the commitment and then following it through. Now, 3 things about discipline. Discipline can be leveraged when it is timely, value-based, and consistent. So it's got to be timely. Tomorrow's success is based on today's discipline. Value-based. Your actions each and every day should be based on your vision. And then consistent discipline over time leads to transformation. Pablo Picasso famously said, "Action is the foundational key to all success." So take time to think about a couple of things that will help you. If you execute them regularly and consistently every single day, the few things that if you did them every single day, they would help you execute that vision or help you achieve that vision. I talked to a lady the other day who wants to write a book. And I talk to a lot of people who want to write books because a lot of people reach out to me through LinkedIn. And I told her, I said, you know what? She asked about my writing plan. And I said, here's what you do. Break it down into a small enough goal that's achievable for you. So you have the goal of writing a book. Let's say that book is 150 pages. If you could commit to writing 1 page a day, all you would have to do is write 1 page every day, and in 150 days, you'd have a book. Now, that might be too much. Maybe it's just writing a paragraph a day. Maybe you can commit to writing 3 chapters a day. But figure out what are the couple of things that you can do consistently every day to help you achieve your vision. It might be going back to college and earning a degree. It might be starting your own business. But figure out what are the few priorities that you're going to do. You don't have to do them all day, but you do them every single day. John Maxwell talks about this in terms of a rule of 5. The 5 things that if you do them consistently over time, they will help you execute your vision. Well, what about the weekends, you think? Every day sounds like a big commitment. Yes, every day, even on the weekends. What about holidays? Well, yeah, absolutely. On the holidays, if these things are priorities in your life and they will help you execute your vision, absolutely do them on weekends and holidays. Now, you don't have to do them all day, but make sure that you're taking some action forward every single day. And that's the key, consistently. And then as you look at your daily agenda every morning, ask yourself one question. What is the one most important thing that must get done today? The one thing that if it doesn't get done, nothing else matters. And then focus your energy on that. There's not a secret to it. It's just simply having the discipline to follow through on it. I like to keep a little electronic sticky note on my desktop. And I put my one thing for today, and I attack that one thing until it's done. Because your ability to implement priorities and your daily agenda will allow you to carry out your strategic plan and implement your vision. And as Henry Ford said, you can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. Until next time.
Start increasing your influence and maximizing your potential with Ria's audiobooks. Available at audible.com, amazon.com, and iBooks. Please visit riastory.com to learn about Ria's books, resources, speaking, and training programs. Thanks for listening.